I'm Dr. Aimee Warren. I'm one of the physicians at the medical center, and this is Jessica, our office manager, and she's kindly agreed to help translate and just...
Yeah, I'll be doing the presentation in Spanish so that we can have it available for recording later on.
Okay, so today's talk, we spoke a little bit about this at the last wellness talk that Gail put on, and we were talking about diabetes, we're talking about metabolic disease, and I talked a little bit at that talk about the gut microbiome and how it impacts our overall well-being. And there was a response from the people that were here that they really wanted to hear more about that. And I do think it's such a fascinating topic, and just preparing for this talk today, I learned more new things about the gut microbiome, so I'm going to share those with you. It's just so interesting how these gut microbes, these little bacteria in our gut, just plays such a huge role in our overall health and well-being. So we're going to talk about that. So the power of gut health, how your microbiome shapes your well-being.
So, el poder de la salud intestinal, cómo la microbiota influye en el bienestar.
So let's just start with what is gut health. The gut includes your stomach, your intestines, and then the trillions of bacteria that we sort of collectively call the microbiome. And these bacteria help us digest food, they produce vitamins, they produce hormones, and they keep our body balanced.
So, ¿qué es la salud intestinal? El intestino incluye el estómago, el intestino y los billones de bacterias que llamaron la microbioma. Estas bacterias ayudan a digerir los alimentos, producir vitaminas y mantener el equilibrio del cuerpo.
And feel free to stop me anytime. This doesn't have to be a formal Q&A. If there's something that's unclear, if you guys want to talk about a slide, just raise your hand and we can talk about that. So I'm just going to kind of start off with what is gut health, and we'll kind of get into the specific body processes that are really impactful. So the gut health, many things impact our microbiome. So we really want to protect our microbiome. It's a really sacred space in there. And so the foods that we eat impact our gut microbiome. Antibiotics, travel, where we live, even pets can affect our microbiome. And you're going to hear me mention multiple times about diversity. So diversity is important in the overall global community, and it's also very important in our gut. So a diverse microbiome is a healthy microbiome. And we'll talk more about that.
So, vamos a estar cubriendo muchas cosas, estamos cubriendo todas las cosas de diversidad que puede pasar en el cuerpo y todas las cosas que en el cuerpo la microbioma puede afectar a los alimentos, antibióticos, viajes, lugar donde vivimos y las mascotas también tiene efectos en el intestinal.
Thank you. So why does it matter? Your gut influences many systems in the body, like I alluded to before. So we're going to focus on metabolism, immune defense, mental health, and even cancer risk.
So, todo lo que pasa en el cuerpo puede afectar a cualquier otro organismo. El intestino influye en muchos sistemas del cuerpo, el metabolismo, la defensa inmunológica, la salud mental y incluso los riesgos de cáncer.
So I love this little sticker, Trust Your Gut, because it's sort of something that we sort of take for granted. Oh, I had a gut feeling about something, or, you know, it was kind of a weird feeling in my gut. And there's a lot to that. So I think that we really need to learn to learn how to communicate with our bodies, and especially our gut. When we get a gut feeling about something, that is a evolutionary sign. You know, we do need to listen to that. And also trusting your gut when it comes to the foods that you're eating. You know, I have a lot of patients who will have like a gluten sensitivity. They don't have an allergy, but they have a sensitivity, and they're like, oh, you know, all my blood work has been normal, but that doesn't mean it's not real. So it's really important that you listen to how your food lands in your body and really pay attention to that. I think often we just kind of go about our day, we eat something, and then maybe a couple hours later we feel sluggish or tired or yucky. We don't really put two and two together that maybe it was the the food that we ate a couple hours ago that's making me feel this way. So I do think if you can get anything from this talk is really trusting your gut and thinking about that and really communicating with your body and really making sure that you're listening to the signs and signals that come through. Sorry. Oh, sure. Uh-huh.
I've discovered that, like how your gut can affect like skin issues and stuff. So I may not feel it inside, but it comes out
Absolutely.
through the skin. And so I don't know if you're going to be going into that a little bit.
Yeah, I'll go into that a little bit, not as much as in skin in particular, but it's really about inflammation.
Yeah.
And I have a lot of patients who have eczema that get a big flare of their eczema if they eat a certain thing, and they know their trigger foods. So that, I feel like that is such a valuable tool that your body gives you, like a little red flag, like this is causing inflammation in my body. It's like a gift, you know? So I have a patient, she gets like one little spot of eczema when she eats something that she doesn't sit well with her. So it's like, it's a nice little lighthouse saying there's inflammation here, stay away from that thing. So it's just a good tool to use.
So, el foto que está presente aquí dice que necesitamos estar poniendo atención en nuestro cuerpo. La doctora estaba hablando que la comunicación del cuerpo a veces nos afecta, aunque nosotros le estamos poniendo atención. So, es muy importante que estamos cuidando lo que estamos metiendo en nuestro cuerpo, porque el cuerpo siempre sabe lo que está pasando, y la comunicación con nuestra mentalidad de qué es lo que estamos poniendo siempre puede ayudar en la defensa que tenemos para todo el cuerpo. Y teníamos una pregunta sobre si cuando alguien come algo y luego tienen inflamación en otra parte de su cuerpo, como en la piel, si eso también puede estar afectado de la comida que estamos poniendo. Y la doctora respondió que sí, vamos a cubrir un poco de eso en esta presentación, pero vamos a cubrir más de lo que pasa con inflamación adentro del cuerpo.
So again, we're going to talk about these 4 aspects, but it really is about whole body health. So gut health really does equal whole body health.
Vamos a hablar de estos 4 cosas de salud intestinal, pero toda la salud intestinal va a estar afectado de todo el cuerpo y todas las cosas que pueden afectar en el cuerpo.
So let's start off with metabolic function. So that's sort of just like an umbrella term for how our body utilizes sugar, nutrients, vitamins, minerals in the diet. So a healthy gut helps regulate blood sugar, weight, and inflammation. And imbalances may contribute to diabetes and obesity.
So vamos a empezar hablando sobre el metabolismo, y esa palabra nomás significa que estamos enfocando en todas las cosas que ponemos en el cuerpo, y el metabolismo y la salud intestinal puede afectar cómo tenemos o cómo regular las azúcares en el sangre, el peso y inflamación que tenemos en el cuerpo.
So this is one of the things that I looked into a little bit more deeply when I was preparing for this talk, and I wanted to go over sort of how gut microbes influence overweight and obesity. And this was really fascinating to me, that some microbes extract more calories from food, and they convert fiber into these short-chain fatty acids. So it's been shown that people who have overweight and obesity have this higher level of, it's called, I'm not going to butcher this name, it's firmicutes type of bacteria, so it's Firmicutes, regardless. So it's a different type of bacteria that extracts more calories out of food than the normal bacteria in the gut. So patients who have diabetes or have they're overweight and obesity, they are extracting potentially more calories from the same amount of food that somebody without obesity would extract. So it's a function of the actual gut microbiome that is potentially contributing more to the obesity problem. Also, gut flora influence the hunger and satiety hormones, ghrelin and leptin. So we know that when you have higher levels of this ghrelin hormone, the hunger goes up. And when you have lower levels of leptin and GLP-1, you have reduced fullness, so you feel more hungry. So GLP-1 is a naturally occurring hormone in the body, and that's what we use. GLP-1 type of medications like Ozempic, they keep you from getting hungry, and it's the same pathway. So patients who have diabetes, or I keep saying diabetes, overweight and obesity, they have an imbalance in these hunger and satiety hormones, which is pretty, it's really interesting how the gut microbiome plays a role there. Also with inflammation, how we spoke about before a little bit about inflammation, there's endotoxins that can be, the bacteria, they get out, what's the word I'm looking for? They secrete, thank you, endotoxins, and that can lead to insulin resistance through inflammation. There's microbes that affect fat storage by influencing genes tied to fat creation. And this is all related to the diversity of the microbiome and how that's impacted with weight. So if you want to look at that. You don't have to read it all.
So, mientras que la doctora estaba haciendo buscando información para esta presentación, encontró que hay muchos microbiomas que afectan en nuestro intestino, que puede afectar a personas que sufren de obesidad. Hay unas que tienen algunas personas en el cuerpo donde las bacterias que tenemos adentro del estómago y en el intestino raramente puede estar quitando más calorías, y eso puede afectar el cuerpo de personas que sufren de obesidad, porque ellos van a sentir más, van a necesitar más calorías para sobrevivir. También encontró que hay otros diferentes bacterias que algunas personas tienen, donde ellos están usando más de las bacterias que le dan más, quieren comer más, y los otras bacterias que tienen de GLP-1, esos son ya medicamentos que son más famosos como los de Ozempic, donde esos están bajando las bacterias en el estómago para que personas no tienen no quieren comer tanto. I think I got it.
Thank you. Sorry, I just kind of sandbag you with that. So it's just important, if you have a history of like a family history of diabetes, if you're struggling to lose weight, if you're wanting to lose weight, if you have prediabetes or diabetes, gut health matters. So really just paying attention to what's going on with your gut, and really use the tools that we're going to learn today about improving your gut microbiome and your gut biodiversity.
So, mientras que seguimos, queremos asegurar que personas están poniendo atención a la diversidad de cosas que que todos tenemos en nuestro cuerpo y que estamos poniendo en nuestro cuerpo, porque si estamos tratando de perder peso, si estamos sufriendo de diabetes o de otras condiciones, puede estar afectando las bacterias que tenemos en el cuerpo. So, es muy importante que estamos poniendo atención y enfocando en qué es lo que estamos comiendo y cómo nos afecta.
Thank you. So now we're going to move on to gut health and immunity. So 70% of the immune system is located in the gut. So again, a diverse microbiome really helps defend against infections and reduce autoimmune diseases. So autoimmune diseases are when the body sort of turns on itself and creates disease from its own antibody function. So the microbiome, the immune system and the microbiome are integrally connected.
Más del 70% del sistema inmunológico está en el intestino. So, esto es donde la doctora está diciendo que a tener un microbioma diverso ayuda a defender las infecciones y reducir enfermedades autoinmunes. Y dice que enfermedades de autoinmune es cuando el cuerpo está atacando al cuerpo mismo. So, es importante que estamos cambiando lo que estamos haciendo en el cuerpo para que podamos defender mejor.
So problems like autoimmune thyroid problems or rheumatoid arthritis, there's even joint pains can get worse with inflammation, which is again related to gut. So I think everybody has experienced or is experiencing something related to too much inflammation in the body, and it all leads back to the gut.
Hay muchas personas que están sufriendo de diferentes enfermedades donde estamos agarrando más inflamación. Puede ser que están sufriendo de artritis o de cosas con sus tiroides y esto todo está afectado por lo microbioma y necesitamos más diversidad en lo que estamos en las bacterias que están en el cuerpo para asegurar que podamos defendernos mejor.
Thank you. So gut health and mental well-being. The gut-brain axis connects the digestive tract to the brain, and gut bacteria greatly influence mood, stress, and mental clarity.
So, salud intestinal está trabajando también con el bienestar mental. El intestino y cerebro se conectan en el sistema digestivo y las bacterias intestinales influyen en nuestro estado de ánimo y la claridad del mental.
So serotonin is sort of the feel-good hormone, the neurotransmitter in the body. So selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors, things like Zoloft, these antidepressant medications, they work by selectively antagonizing the receptor for serotonin, keeping it around in the brain longer. So we know that serotonin, the more we have it, the better we feel. And 90% of our body's serotonin is created in the gut. So if we know that if you have a dysbiosis or an imbalance in the gut, it's going to greatly affect your mood in that way. It's not just you don't feel good. It's actually neurotransmitters are going to be dysregulated if you have an unhealthy gut.
Personas que están en medicamentos como el Zoloft están tomando esos medicamentos porque quieren sentirse mejor, no nomás es saludable del cuerpo, pero también de la mente. 90% de lo que pasamos y los hormonas que empiezan a afectar nuestra salud mental vienen del intestino, so queremos asegurar que esos hormonas que nos dan los sentimientos que son más saludables y más que nos dan más ánimo, esos siempre empiezan en nuestro intestino.
And gut health can definitely play a role in our risk of cancers, not only colon cancer, but other cancers as well. We know that the gateway to cancer is inflammation, and gut health and inflammation, as we've mentioned, go hand in hand. But specifically, gut cancers like colon cancer, your risk goes up. If you have a gut dysbiosis, you just have more inflammation, more DNA damage, and we know that those two things are linked.
Y ya sabemos que hay más riesgo de cáncer cuando tenemos diferentes bacterias en el estómago. Se puede subir más los riesgos de cáncer del colon cuando alguien tiene las bacterias que son malos adentro del cuerpo. Eso nos hace daños y necesitamos asegurar que estamos enfocando en lo que está pasando en el intestino para asegurar que los cánceres podemos proteger sobre los cánceres.
So this is a little plug for our clinic. Preventive medicine is the best medicine. We're all about preventive health, and really getting screened for colon cancer is a big part of what we are, part of our job at the clinic is really helping patients know what screenings that need to be done at what decade of life. And colon cancer screening should begin at age 45. That's a sort of a newer recommendation. It used to be 50, but now it's a little younger. And we really want to take into account family history, so it's going to be specific for different, every patient has different recommendations, but overall 45 is usually the age that we recommend starting to screen. And the screening options include a colonoscopy, which is typically every 10 years, the stool-based tests, like a blood in the stool, that's one of the options, and then a DNA test, which is every 3 years. And we can help you decide which one is right for you, but everybody should be doing this. Yeah. I'm sorry? So that is the Cologuard test. So it tests for colon cancer DNA in the stool. So it's a kit that the company sends to you. You send them a sample of your stool, and it tests for colon cancer DNA. And the colonoscopy is typically, it's the gold standard because it looks inside the colon and it can find little polyps that aren't necessarily colon cancer, but they could potentially lead to colon cancer down the road. So it's both preventive and it's a screening and it's a prevention because they can take out those polyps that could potentially go on to become a colon cancer later. So we always suggest a colonoscopy, but in my opinion, it goes colonoscopy, the Cologuard, which is the sDNA, and then the FIT test is like a far runner-up.
En nuestra clínica siempre enfocamos en la medicina prevenida, queremos asegurar que personas están llegando a la clínica a hacer sus visitas para que nosotros podamos darles las pruebas que va a prevenir todos los efectos de cánceres y podemos asegurar que estamos enfocando en cada paciente que viene y su historia medical. En los 45 años ya cambiaron edad donde podemos empezar a enfocar a buscar el cáncer de colon. A los 45 años ya pueden empezar a agarrar esos tratamientos y esas pruebas. Tenemos 3 que podemos ofrecer. La colonoscopía, eso nomás para cada 10 años. Hay pruebas que podemos hacer para la prueba inmunológica y eso es donde mandan algo al doctor y ellos lo ven por la prueba que te mandan y luego también hay un análisis que es una compañía que ellos te mandan algo por correo y luego nomás lo mandas de regreso y ellos ya te mandan los resultados y en nuestra clínica los doctores pueden hablar con usted sobre los resultados de cada una de estas pruebas.
Thank you. So how do we support our gut health? We're going to go through a few things, and we did create a handout so that you can take this home and kind of think about maybe how you can make some improvements in your lifestyle to really support gut health. And I do want to just mention also that this healing takes time. So a lot of patients come to me with gut dysbiosis, and it just takes time for the gut to heal. So being patient with the process, if you're experiencing gut health issues, it does take time, but it's just with intentional practices that this can really get a lot better for you. And but these are things that we should all be doing. The first is eating fiber-rich foods, so aiming for 25 to 30 grams a day. I don't know if you wanted me to go through each one, and then do you want me to say all of them and then you do it? What's
Yeah,
easier
you
for
can.
you? Okay.
Yeah.
So this is something I tell most every patient. I'm like a fiber pusher. So I think fiber, when you eat fiber-rich foods, it not only helps with your gut microbiome, but it really helps to stabilize blood sugar. It acts like a kind of a vacuum cleaner for cholesterol in the bloodstream. It's like a superfood, right? It really helps with so many things. Helps with constipation, which so many of us struggle with, so constipation. It helps with gut microbiome. It helps with blood sugar, cholesterol. So if you can do one thing after you leave here is go home and Google a list of high fiber foods, tack it to your fridge, and just use that as like a little reminder to count your fiber and really try to get in 30 grams a day. And you'll see such a huge difference, not only in your gut health, but your skin, your blood sugar, your cholesterol, all these things make it impacts it so positively. So that is my number one thing for everyone.
Vamos a hablar sobre las comidas que podemos comer para apoyar la salud intestinal y la primera que la doctora siempre quiere que todos enfocamos es la fibra. Si estamos comiendo 25 a 30 gramos por día de fibra, eso va a ayudar todo, como nuestra cutis, como las personas que sufren de constipación. Ella pregunta si cada persona puede llegar a la casa y asegurar que encuentran en línea todas las comidas que tienen mucha fibra y luego ponerlo en su refri para que siempre pueden enfocar a comer mucho de fibra cada día para ayudar a todo su cuerpo.
Yes.
Say if you do fasting for any type of religious person's purpose, what's the best way to go into it and get out of it?
Of a fast? So if it's like an intermittent fast where you do 15 hours a day, is that what you're doing, or you're doing days long? Days. So usually I just recommend coming out of it slowly, clear liquid diet for the first half day, full day, and then sort of slowly come back online with food. You really have to be careful with the multi-day fasting. if it's for religious purposes or, you know, those types of things, I think it's okay. But as far as like for a weight loss thing, you know, it's not as effective just because your body kind of goes into starvation mode and then you eat again and your body's like, yes, I'll take all the calories and put it right here, you know. So it's better to do slow and steady with eating healthy food versus like that starvation, go back to eating, starvation, go back to eating. So I do think that fasting is good for you for other reasons. Like we know that longevity, it really does impact our DNA. It can help with DNA repair and decreasing inflammation. So for those reasons, I think it's good. But as far as for weight loss, not so much. But I think the reintroduction of food really should be kind of low and slow, like clear liquids and then kind of go up from there. Really trying to stay away from sugary foods and that kind of stuff because it can kind of rock your body that way. So the other things on this slide that I want to talk about. So Eat the Rainbow is really going back to diversity. So a diverse microbiome is a healthy microbiome, and microbes love diverse fruits and vegetables. So different colors, different types, eat what's in season, whole grains. You don't have to shy away from carbs. It just has to be the right kind of carbs and the right amount. So I have a lot of patients who really shy away from carbs, but it's really the type, you know. So if you're going to eat carbs, do you like quinoa, brown rice, farro, those types of things, and your gut likes those things. So just using like a quarter of a cup is a good amount, a quarter to a half of a cup. But try to eat the rainbow. Try to eat lots of in-season fruits and vegetables. And if you can aim for 5 fruits, 5 veggies every day is sort of ideal. It's a lot, but you can do it if you kind of intentionally think about that with every meal and snack.
Teníamos una pregunta sobre qué puede pasar con personas que están en ayunas por muchos días, y cuando están de ayunas la doctora quiere asegurar que personas están desayunando bien despacio. No hay necesidad de estar comiendo con muchas cosas que tienen muchas calorías o cosas que tienen muchos azúcares. So es importante que empiecen despacio, y con eso quiere asegurar que todos están comiendo cosas de diferentes colores, y el cuerpo quiere bacteria diversa, eso quiere decir que nosotros necesitamos estar comiendo cosas diversas. Ella dice que 5 frutas y 5 vegetales cada día, eso va a ayudar, y si todo es de diferentes colores y tipos, eso va a asegurar que tu cuerpo siempre está trabajando bien.
And then the last 2, fermented foods and avoiding processed foods. So fermented foods, those are really good if you're struggling with gut health, if you feel like you have a dysbiosis. They're not necessary if you feel like you have good gut health, but I think they just kind of encourage good gut flora. You know, if you like kombucha, if you like sauerkraut, kimchi, miso is also fermented. And probiotics I don't usually recommend unless you are having an issue. But they're not going to hurt you, but you just don't necessarily need them if you can kind of do all of these things with your foods and your you know, the lifestyle stuff that is way more important, I think. But we'll talk more about this at the end. The avoiding processed foods is a huge one. So these ultra processed foods, chips, candy, you know, all these packaged foods that we tend to eat a lot of in this country. This is really just spiking inflammation, disrupting our gut health, and they really have no place in a healthy lifestyle.
So con los últimos 2, ella quiere asegurar que personas que lo necesitan están comiendo comidas que son fermentadas. So no hay necesidad de cada persona estar comiendo estos, pero sí ayuda a asegurar que tenemos las bacterias necesidades en el intestino. Lo más importante que quiere enfocar es que no estamos comiendo tanto comida que tiene mucho proceso. So todo lo que tiene azúcares, todo lo que está llegando en esta ciudad como en paquetes de plástico, esas cosas eso no es saludable y no es nada que nos va a ayudar. Esos llegan con más inflamación y empiezan a hacer cosas malas en el cuerpo.
The other things that are really important to support gut health are managing our stress in a purposeful way, getting adequate sleep, avoiding alcohol, and really listening to our bodies. So that's what I was kind of speaking about before, is listening to how our body reacts to certain foods and avoiding those things that we know cause gas, bloating, those food sensitivities that can be signs of this dysbiosis.
So, siguiendo apoyando la salud intestinal, necesitamos asegurar que el estrés no tiene impactos buenos en nuestro cuerpo. So, hay necesidad de estar haciendo cosas que nos va a bajar el estrés y que estamos poniendo atención al bienestar mental.
So Hippocrates, he's sort of like the godfather or grandfather of medicine, and he is quoted to say all disease begins in the gut. So it's pretty remarkable. All the way back then, there was this relationship known between gut health and whole body health.
Ya hace mucho tiempo que tenemos diferentes personas. Uno de filosofía dice que todas las enfermedades empiezan en el intestino. So, la doctora dice que es muy interesante que desde tiempo antes de medicina estaban enfocando en las cosas que están pasando y las bacterias del cuerpo.
Another one of his famous quotes is, "Let food be thy medicine, and medicine be thy food." And this is so true, that there's so much power in the foods that we eat to either elevate our health or really sink our health ship too.
Esto es donde el poder tenemos nosotros de lo que estamos poniendo en el cuerpo. Otra cosa que dijo el filósofo era que la comida es medicina y la medicina necesita empezar en lo que estamos comiendo.
So the key takeaways is really that gut health is foundational for overall wellness, and thinking about your health really should include a conversation with your provider about your gut health. And if you have an issue with that, it's something that you should come talk to us about and help to kind of resolve some of those issues, because you really can't be truly well unless you have good gut health. It's just part of it. It plays a key role in metabolism, immune function, mental health, cancer risk, skin health, inflammation, all of the things, hormone health. And then daily habits can heal and protect your gut. So we'll give you a little handout to take home and things that you can do every day to really nurture your gut microbiome.
So, para concluir, lo que necesitamos enfocar es que la salud intestinal es fundamental para el bienestar general. Así, cualquier persona tiene preguntas sobre el bienestar del intestino o tienen preguntas sobre las bacterias del cuerpo, pueden venir a la clínica para hablar con los doctores sobre su situación. Es importante que ponemos atención que esto sí afecta el metabolismo, la inmunidad y los riesgos de cáncer y la salud mental, y sí vamos a estar teniendo unos paquetes para cada persona de los hábitos diarios que pueden hacer para proteger el intestino.
So these will be on the handout, but my 5 take-home tips. So if you can do 1 or 2 or all of these things every day, you're going to be like killing it, rocking it with your gut health. So 30 grams of fiber a day, 5 fruits and 5 veggies every day. That seems like a lot, but if you make a smoothie in the morning and put a half of a banana, a handful of spinach, and a 1/4 cup of frozen berries, you've got 3 or 4 already. So it doesn't take that much to really, add these things in. An apple with peanut butter for a snack, some carrots with hummus, and you're almost there. So it's not impossible. It's pretty a reasonable thing to do, and it really does make a big health impact. And then avoiding those ultra-processed foods and alcohol, and drinking more water, aiming for 3 liters a day, and then managing your stress intentionally and daily. Those are the top 5.
So, en el paquete sí vamos a tener estas 5 cosas que pueden hacer cada persona. No necesitan hacer todos los 5, pero haciendo cualquiera de estos van a ayudar al intestino. So, si pueden intentar a comenzar los 30 gramos de fibra al día, eso va a afectar mucho de tu vida. 5 frutas y 5 verduras cada día Si hacen un licuado en la mañana con un poco de fresas, unos plátanos, eso ya es empezando en cada fruta, eso es muy fácil para hacerlo. Evitar los alimentos procesados y el alcohol, eso va a ayudar muchísimo, y beber más agua. Intenta beber 3 litros al día y maneja el estrés diariamente, eso también va a ayudar todo la microbioma del cuerpo.
I just wanted to speak quickly on just this transition. If you're really far away from this, I always encourage my patients just to start off just by counting how much fiber you're getting right now, like just without changing anything, just start to kind of count. And I would guess most of us land in maybe that 10 grams, 12 grams kind of range. So to go from that to 30 is a big jump. And you're going to come back and say, oh my gosh, I feel like my stomach's going to explode. I have so much gas. It's terrible. What did you recommend? So I think doing this slowly over time, because your gut microbiome is used to your lifestyle. It's used to your diet. So if you're eating a lot of processed foods or not a lot of fruits and vegetables, and then you jump into this lifestyle, you're going to probably feel, real tootsie. So it just kind of takes a little while for your body to kind of come online. And it's sort of like feeding a dog different food, right? So the way that I do it, if like I have a different dog food, I'll put a little bit in at a time and so the gut can get used to it. Same goes here. So you just want to add slowly and just, don't feel like it's a rush to do this, but maybe make a goal. So if right now you're in that 10 gram of fiber range, so by maybe the fall, you're at 30, and just take it really slow and be kind to yourself, and just really take it easy, and your gut microbiome will come on board. It will get used to it. It just takes a little time. So that healing takes time is really our mantra.
Quiere asegurar que personas no están haciendo todos esos cambios tan rápidamente. Es importante que lo hacen despacito. Puede empezar como para la fibra, que ella piensa que es lo más importante. Puede empezar nomás para cada persona viendo cuánta fibra están comiendo ya diariamente. Muchos de nosotros vamos a estar en los 10 gramos a 20 gramos, no podemos llegar a los 30 tan rápido. Si empezamos en eso y nomás estamos aumentando unos 5 gramos al día, ya para el otoño ya podemos llegar a 30 gramos y eso puede afectar mucho. Es importante que la bacteria que tenemos en nuestro cuerpo es individual, eso ya es como nosotros nos afecta. Necesitamos empezar más despacio para asegurar que la bacteria se puede acostumbrar a los cambios que estamos haciendo.
I think that's it. So I'm just going to leave some time for questions or discussion or, yeah.
I have a question about all the baked sugars that
Yes.
people are giving us
Yes.
versus regular sugar and how it affects the gut.
Yeah. So the sort of fake sugars, the plant-based sugars I'm more of a fan of, like the monk fruit and, even stevia. Some people don't tolerate that one as well. But the like aspartame and those types of sugars or sweeteners, they can definitely disrupt the gut. I kind of struggle with that one because I have patients who have diabetes and they really, they drink soda every day. So if it's a choice between a full sugar Coca-Cola and a diet, I'm going to go for the diet, but it's better not to do either one, So if you can stay more whole food, that's really my guiding light and my guiding principle. If it comes from a plant, if it comes from a food, and it's not ultra processed, that's the best way. So even a little bit of honey or agave syrup or something like that is probably better than white sugar, because it's just so highly processed. And when you watch somebody's blood sugar, when they eat a little bit of that white sugar, it's going to spike a lot faster versus those more plant-based kind of agave type of things. They're both going to spike your sugar, but I think one is, at least you got some minerals in with agave, but I do think that gut dysbiosis can definitely be impacted by those kind of processed kind of aspartame type of sweeteners. That's a good question. Anybody else have any questions? Hi.
For those like that don't think that can meet those grams that you're recommending for fiber intake, do you recommend like a fiber supplement powder? And if so, do you have any recommendations? Or
Yeah.
do you just recommend trying to eat as much fruits and vegetables?
That's a really good question. It's one that I get a lot, and my answer is always get it through food. So if it's really too hard and you can't, I think fiber supplement is okay. But the whole point of this is to fill yourself up with fruits and vegetables. You know, if you look at a stomach, you know, if you've seen those kind of drawings or the graphics of a stomach that has 200 calories of oil and 200 calories of fruits and vegetables, the whole stomach is packed full with the fruits and vegetables, and it's got like this much oil on the bottom with just 200 calories of oil. So part of the benefit of getting 30 grams of fiber in through fruits and vegetables and whole grains is that you feel full longer and you're satiated. You're not starving. You're not hungry. You feel good, but you're eating so many high nutrient, high value types of foods that helps you lose weight because there's no space for anything else, you know, versus if you take a fiber supplement, that's not going to make you feel full. You're still going to eat a meal, and you might have better bowel movements. It might help your gut microbiome, but really the whole benefit of eating 30 grams of fiber is really to crowd out a lot of those bad, less healthy choices. So, yeah.
Thank you for the talk. This is kind of a strange one, but I've read that like castor oil in the belly button can help with gut issues or inflammation. Do you have any experience with that, or do you know anything?
I don't know enough about that to speak on. I've definitely heard people doing that, and you know, topical things and essential oils and stuff. I kind of tend to land in the camp that if it's not going to hurt you, it's worth a shot. But I don't think there's a lot of data to support that. Yeah, so it's not very helpful. But I think it's not going to hurt you, and if it helps, then great. As long as you're not putting it inside, you know. So yeah. Any other questions? Yeah.
So how does your, you kind of mentioned at the beginning, like how does your gut health and things like help regulate your hormones?
Yeah.
Like, is that all?
Yes.
With
It is all connected. So our estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, those breakdown products, that can happen a lot of that happens in the gut. So you're not potentially metabolizing and utilizing your hormones as well as if you have a balanced gut microbiome. So, and then it also leads to it's also foundational inflammation, and we know that patients who have insulin resistance or pre-diabetes, diabetes, that impacts our overall, you know, our hormone balance is like a symphony, and all of our hormonally active organs in the body, they all sort of talk to each other, right? So if there's imbalance in the gut, there's imbalance in our serotonin, there's imbalance in our estrogen, progesterone, testosterone. It's all speaking to each other. So you can't take out one thing and say it's not going to be affected, because everything is connected. So, any other questions? Thank you guys so much for showing up. And we have these handouts if anybody wants one.